I Beautiful. So it seems like I'm off camera, but look at this nice blank space. I wonder what that means.
Are you like
And
purposefully channeling Taylor Swift songs in that conversation?
I did I just say something Taylor Swift like?
Blank space. Blank
That's a
space is
song?
what. Yeah, oh, yeah, it's a huge song.
I don't listen to I don't intentionally listen to Taylor Swift. She's not what I would consider, someone I listen to. You know, I'm more of an '80s type thing, Guns N' Roses,
Sammy, I
and
definitely would have thought you were a Swiftie.
you know what? I think I'm gonna start listening to Taylor Swift more, and see where that takes me. It might be a interesting ride.
I'm a total Swiftie, and
Are you?
her documentary. Netflix has a documentary on her that I found absolutely. It was really, really beautiful and fascinating. Um, so it made me even bigger fan of hers. So check it out. You and Brian can bond over watching Taylor Swift documentaries. Look at that.
I'm really glad that she's on this earth. Look what she did to our economy. I just typed something in one of our WhatsApp groups, and you've seen it, right? You've all seen it.
Yeah.
Wow. She contributed $5 billion to the U.S. economy. Uh, Someone should make her run for president. I mean, no president has done that. Not even with all. You know, I mean, that's talk about working on the deficit. Just have Taylor Swift just tour, and we'll be rid of the deficit in no time. We're talking about solutions to the economy. There you go. Um,
We can go to other countries. Oh yeah, well we got Taylor Swift. So
yeah, we got a powerhouse of economic boost. Her name is Taylor Swift. It doesn't matter how big our missiles are, or how big our army is, or our navy. Yeah. Okay, so it's 9:06, and I just want to acknowledge that this is us. This is the group, and I think we could start. It's wonderful, wonderful, intimate group. Um, so one of the themes that was showing up for me today and the past few days since we had the last meditation in the evening on Wednesday was the theme of acceptance. And what does that mean? Like acceptance and the other the other emotions and feelings that are associated with it, including love. You know, when I think about acceptance, what comes to mind? The first thing that comes to mind is a big hug, like a hug, And when today Peter talked about acceptance and the distinction between acceptance and understanding, and he said understanding is the poor man's version of acceptance, and that really landed for me because the way I've been listening to my girlfriend Pam is trying to understand her and trying and trying and trying and asking myself, well, how is that working out for you, Sammy? Well, I've been trying. um, rather than just accepting. So that's the theme of this meditation. So let's practice. We're going to get into a comfortable position. You could have your eyes closed or open, or soft gaze. You don't have to focus on anything, as long as you're comfortable. And we're going to start noticing things in our body. And I invite you to notice your breath. How wonderful it is to have breath. How healing the breath is. I invite us to enjoy just a few moments of breathing, acknowledging that we have breath, we have clean air, We have time to breathe. And as we're noticing our breath, we might notice noises, movements, sounds. And notice what shows up, what thoughts show up when we're noticing, what patterns of thoughts. Are we judging? Are we making something wrong? Just notice what's in this space. And then in noticing these thoughts, emotions, feelings, whatever shows up, let's take this opportunity to say thank you. Thank you to my thoughts. And if you want, you can breathe into the thank you and really feel the gratitude of having all these thoughts. It's proof that we're alive, proof that our mind is working. Amazing mind. And as we're thanking these thoughts, imagine taking your arms and wrapping your arms around your thoughts, saying thank you, and breathing into the thank you and the gratitude, and accepting these thoughts and the emotions and the feelings that are associated with them, accepting all of it. Accepting ourselves, that stuff is going to show up all the time, and that's okay. It's meant to. All we have to do is notice these thoughts, thank them, breathe into them if you want, accept them, accept yourself. Now, from the space of gratitude, let's look back on the day, remembering moments of conversations with other people and noticing How did we listen? How were we being with them in our conversations? What thoughts were showing up? And in noticing this, there is no judgment. Things will show up all the time. All we have to do is take our arms and hug them. A big hug, and accept them. It's meant to be. Things show up so we can accept them. Thoughts show up so we can clear them, so we can notice them and see what's in the way, in the space between us and the other. And the other being everything. Let's acknowledge every conversation we've had today and declare everything that showed up as part of our growth, our commitment to loving kindness, compassion, contribution. It's all meant to be. Things will show up all the time, and that's okay. All we have to do is notice and accept. And then as we come closer to the conclusion of our meditation, take a few moments, a few breaths, and declare every thought, every emotion, everything that shows up in our listening and conversation with others. Declare that absolutely perfect, absolutely perfect. And acknowledge yourself for being an accomplished, successful, amazing person. When you feel free to do so, slowly move your fingers, toes, wiggle your nose, smile even if you want. And when you're ready, gradually open your eyes. Thank you for being here. Thank you for participating and contributing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mhm.
You know, as I'm going through the meditation, in the back of my mind is, "Oh, Brian's gonna show up every moment now." So that's what was showing up for me, and I had to constantly notice, accept it, and, like, clear it up, you know?
Yeah.
You know, that's one of the things that I noticed as I was going through the meditation with us during this is, clearing things up, like clearing the space up, almost like with a magic wand or a magic broom, just clearing the space up between myself and the other, myself and you, Becky, myself and the rest of the, whoever else is participating, and just noticing things that show up. Um, and be like, why do things show up? Why do things have to show up? Why can't I just be with someone else?
Yeah. I struggle with that too.
And then, and the whole purpose, like, of the meditation was to be okay with things showing up, and say, "Oh, I'm so glad things are showing up," because if they didn't show up, it wouldn't give me, I wouldn't have the opportunity to clear it up, to notice, accept it, and clear it up, and be even more connected to you, right? Because if things didn't show up, I wouldn't be able to practice closeness, you
Mm,
know? So it's like,
mm.
it's meant to be there. The Asian philosophy of yin and yang, right? There's meant to be some darkness. There has to be. And there's nothing wrong with the darkness. There's nothing wrong with so-called negative thoughts
I
or
think that
judgment, or anything that we think is bad in our communication or our listening. Like, oh, I'm judging the other person, so I must be a bad. I'm just noticing that I'm judging you, and I'm noticing that that's a human thing, and I accept it and I acknowledge it. You know?
I'm going to be
Yeah.
honest. I think that's a reason why it took me so long to even start practicing meditation to begin with, because the times earlier on in my life that I tried, or
Mm,
I set the intention to go and meditate, I judged myself because I couldn't clear the space, or I noticed things were popping up, and there was some sort of um immediate judgment that, like, I'm doing this wrong, or this is just another thing that I can't do
mm,
correctly. And that was
yes.
interesting for me. That was
Mm,
interesting for me. So I automatically just decided I can't do this, right?
right.
So why do it? Why even try at all? And I would run away from it. And it wasn't until I tapped into guided meditations, and, like, what a gift guided meditations were for me, because it allowed me to not be caught in my own head and to
Mm,
be kind of taken on a journey of where I can just sit and observe. And I think that was, like, the whole point. But I needed somebody to guide me. I needed somebody to, like, take me on that journey and allow, like, some of the imagery to kind of, like, just kind of fill in and its place, because me left in my own head, like, alone. It's a
mm.
scary place sometimes. You're like, "I don't wanna listen to this." I it sounds even louder when it's quiet.
Y Becky, I acknowledge you for being so accepting and receptive because for me, sometimes I feel like I don't want to be told what to do. Who are you to guide me in this meditation? I got my own guidance. I got my own way of doing things. But oh, instead of but, I'm going to say and the guided meditation, like especially when Janine does it, it's like I'm in a dream and someone's talking to me, like the narrator, you know? And every once in a while, I'll listen to that narrator for some guidance and say, okay, thank you. I'm noticing that I'm still in the dream. I'm noticing I'm still the creator of this, experience. And then instead of resisting the guide, I welcomed the guide and I accepted. I accepted and I welcomed and I had gratitude and I chose. And what's showing up for me now is the book Dante's Inferno. You know, as Dante was being guided through the different levels of hell by Plato. Was it Plato or Aristotle? I'm not sure, but it was one of the philosophers. And that's what
It's a good
the
question.
guidance. Yeah,
Let
the
me
the
see.
guidance for me is like yeah, it's like a spiritual guidance. I mean, I know. Yeah, I don't want to use the word spiritual because I know sometimes that triggers people like, oh, what are you talking about? What do you know about spirit? What do you know about God? Well, that's a
Well,
different conversation. Yeah,
I,
exactly.
I love that conversation. Daniel says that Dante was guided by Virgil, and I love that
Mhm.
we make up language.
That's right. What's that? We make up language?
Yeah, so I love how often, and it's funny,
Mm.
Sammy, because out of all of the parts of the meditation that I was present to before I hopped into my accountability, and as I was here, I was like present to when you wanted us to just acknowledge and like see how many came through. And at first it was like a flood, and then I was like, oh my gosh. And then it was like one. I was like, and I felt like I was looking like, well, what else can I acknowledge? Where else can I give acceptance? Where else am I hiding from? And so it's funny because in your words spiritual, like it's funny, like people are always like, what's your denomination? I love that I know what they mean now, because a lot of people think spirituality is very significant based on the word and like the emphasis on being someone who's spiritual now. And I love it, because if we really are curious in our nature and like hearing the thoughts in our mind, I love that you have shared that, because like what Becky had expressed in that exercise of like, where do we feel heaviness? Where do we feel lightness? Anywhere I'm going to see heaviness, I'm like, oh, I'm not having play in it yet. Like I'm not allowing myself to accept that it's here or it's there, but am I going to be someone who's like trying to like focus on something that's coming to me? I want to be a receiver. I don't want it to feel like I'm rushing at it. Like, and so it's funny. Thank you for giving me that, to see like when things are coming to me, it feels like sometimes I'm giving it like, oh, it's too much. It's too heavy. And then in that moment, I was like, okay, what's next? It was like, now I have to wait for it. And just being in that oscillation, like you were saying earlier about like the light and the dark, like I want to be someone who's present to sometimes being that fish in water, like what water? Like what darkness, what lightness, like what spirituality, like just to return to my curiosity. And I want to accept that that's something that I'm not only calling in as my practice, I get to be in practice on a daily basis with people who are guiding me like you in like areas where I choose to show up as a student, knowing that just as quickly I'm given that pleasure of knowing I can also be a teacher. Like, how often do we have these types of conversations where you can oscillate? Yeah, that's
I
where
love
my
those.
is.
I love those. That's like an important thing in life, is to always be in the state where you're both teacher and student. Like just to always be in that space, I think is one of the greatest, it's one of the greatest spaces to be in. It's, you're always going to grow, you're always going to evolve, you're always, you know, moving in something important and meaningful, and it's beautiful.
Sometimes Becky,
No,
sometimes when I meet people who are just a little older than me, and in the Middle East, there's a respective way to greet people who are older than you. Usually it's like uncle or auntie. Now, you know, I forget that I'm 49 years old. So I'm calling a
I'm there
50
with you.
something year old. Yeah, I forget. Like I forget that, I'm calling people who are just slightly older than me, like, uncle or auntie. And then people who are younger than me I'll also call them uncle or auntie. So in my mind, I'm in this perpetual space of student, right?
Yes.
But at the same time, when like the student can become the teacher, right? And who are the best type of teachers? Those that are students. And what's the best way to learn? Is to teach, right? That's the best way to learn. So, right, the yin and yang, right? Like the oscillation. When
Yes.
you, Janine, when you mentioned the fish and what water, right? And I this vision of a fish swimming through water, and like using effort to swim through water, using the muscles and the tail as it's going to and fro, right? And I'm picturing this, and I'm thinking, whoa, the fish is using a lot of energy to swim through that water, and it's going so fast. If it wasn't for that water, that fish wouldn't be able to move. If it wasn't for that resistance, that fish wouldn't be able to go where it wants to go.
Mm, nice awareness. Like that.
So we need the resistance. We need it. We need the friction. We need the stuff that shows up. Oh, the judgment has showed up. I need that to show up in order for me to clear it up, to grow and to learn and to say, I'm here to learn. I just learned something. Thank you. Thank you for that thought, Sammy, or whatever that wherever it came from. Thank you for being a jerk. Now you don't have to be. But no, like thank you for being human. Permission to be
Yeah.
human, as Heather would
Yeah.
say. Permission to be right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love having these conversations in the evening. It just gives such a wonderful completeness to the day, an acknowledgement of what we went through, and like declaring like every experience that we went through as success, as part of success. Like no matter what we've done, whether we thought at that moment, hey, we did a good job, or we didn't do a good job, or we didn't do what we said we're going to do, it's all a part of success. And why? Because we said so. Because I declare it so that everything that I do and have went throughout my life has been
Yes.
successful. Because I'm here with you guys,
Yes.
so that's proof.
Yes.
Yeah. You make up your own rules. Yeah.
I have had a day.
Mm.
I have had a really emotional, draining, purging type of day. And so this is a really nice space to just decompress and be in right now in this moment. Like I've had in just different conversations today and different meetings, just old wounds open up like all over the place. And it was beautiful. Like it's beautiful. It reminds me there's still work to be done. There's still growth to be had. There's still ways for me to elevate and move even further along my healing journey. And I feel that's exciting. Like it gets better than this. And at the same time, it was like a nice reflection of how far I've come, like even from like the very roots of it, like how far I've journeyed, and it's really really beautiful. But it's been emotional, and like this evening, like right before I got on here, I was cooking, like I've been cooking for my kids, and I know they're eating really late. That's my house. Mommy gets sidetracked. But I was cooking and feeding everybody, and like I had this. I remembered that today is the anniversary of my niece's death. She OD'd a year ago. Um, Today, and it was like just like another layer of like wow, like just when I thought today couldn't have gotten any more emotional, like right before I came out here, I took another hit, like emotionally. But then Sammy, you did this, you opened up this beautiful space. And where I started thinking about that, I ended up in a space where I was just releasing. And I actually think I might have tapped in to that space you're supposed to when you're meditating, where your head is clear and you're just releasing. I think you brought me there, Sammy. Like this, I didn't think it was possible. And I feel like I tapped into it today, this
I
evening. So I'm really excited about it.
look at this woman, Becky. You talked about the anniversary of the death of your niece, and Janine and I were like, "Oh my
Yeah.
God, we're sending so much love and prayers and 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 acknowledging the loss." And then you started talking about acceptance, and I'm like so happy that yeah, that you're there, you're in that phase. And then you're laughing. I'm like, what is this woman going through? And then you're giving me credit for your meditation. I'm like,
You
well,
You helped get me to a place that I think I was capable of getting to. I'm really grateful and impressed. Like, you should give yourself a pat on the back. That's a
all
really
right,
hard thing to get from me.
let's call it co-creation. How about that? Right? Because I can't do it without you, right?
That's all
I,
right.
I can't,
We
and I
created success today.
right. Yeah, yeah. Let's call it that. We declared success, just success over and success and love. Like I'm getting love too, Becky. Like you're
I
so.
always love.
Oh my God, yeah. You're that. You're a personification of that state of being, and everyone's very fortunate to have you in their life. And I don't know what kind of relationship you had with your niece, but I'm sure she's very fortunate.
You.
I'm sure she considers herself very fortunate to have known you.
My niece had a very hard life. My sister-in-law, well, actually, my husband's family are addicts. So his mom was an addict. He doesn't know his birth father. His birth father kind of split right after he was born. Who we recognize as his dad, amazing man, but he was an addict at one point in the life. His sister was an addict. All his aunts were addicts. Like there's just addiction in that family. And my niece Jackie, um, beautiful, beautiful, bright light, super, super smart girl. But she was, her mom was very heavy into addiction and would could not take care of them. And there was a point in time where I wanted to take both my niece and my nephew in, um, just to give them a safe place, to give them a safe home, a stable home. But, at that time we had 3 kids and my sister-in-law was constantly around shady people and would like bring shady people. If I had like my niece and nephew for like a weekend, she would come pick them up and like bring shady people into my home. And I did not want these people to know where I lived. I didn't want them around my kids. Like I didn't want my children to know any of that sort of energy um growing up. And in my heart, I couldn't keep a mother from her children. But so I recognized, like, me and my husband had talked about it quite several times, like in several different occasions about taking them in and in the end, for our own kids' safety, like we didn't do it. And Jackie got into this place where she felt like she had to take care of her mom because her mom couldn't take care of herself at a very, very young age. And And the kids ended up being bounced around from house to house, but Jackie always stayed with her mom. And what I believe is that she was sexually abused by mom's boyfriends. I believe that that abuse turned into her turning to drugs and developing her own addiction. And she, you know, she's 20 years old when she died. She's 20 years old and she had a baby. She had a 1-year-old little girl. She was just really caught in addiction. She actually was in a detox facility and she had a seizure in a detox facility. They took her to the hospital, got her checked out at the hospital, but instead of releasing her back to the detox facility, they just released her. And she went and stole money and immediately bought pills, and the pills were laced with fentanyl, and she died alone on the beach. And, you know, it's really heartbreaking because I distanced myself from all of that to protect my children and my family. And I know that was the right thing to do. Like, I don't regret that choice. That was absolutely 100% the right thing for me to do. But I wish there was even like the slightest shift or something different that I could have helped them more. I could have helped both of them more. And the one good thing out of all of it, as tragic as it is that it brought me and my nephew even closer, her brother. And he's the one, like, he leans on me. He's like, "You're really like my mom," because my mom couldn't ever show up for me as my mom, but you always have. So in a way, I can still help my nephew through this, and he's processing through so much grief, and I've processed through so much, like, I've processed through so much grief. So another little tidbit about me I'll share really quickly is that when I was in college, I lost I lost uh my best friend was murdered from high school, was murdered at her college. She was raped and murdered. And I had been in a fight with her and we hadn't talked in months. We were just jealous and angry at each other and being passive aggressive. And I got a phone call basically telling me that she had died and I needed to come home and go to her funeral. And I didn't handle that very well. The next month, another friend died tragically. The month after that, another friend died. The month after that, my cousin overdosed on heroin and died. The month after that, an old family friend that was very, very close to me and dear to me, he was murdered. I lost 10 people in the span of a year, and I went each and every month to another funeral and to another funeral and to another funeral. And it seemed so tragic and so random that I was convinced that I was next. And I spiraled I developed anxiety disorders. I developed panic disorders. I developed dissociative disorder where I would just lose track of time. And I ended up having a medical withdrawal from school because the doctors needed me monitored because I was just falling apart. So you add that with all the traumatic sexual abuse and everything else from my childhood. Like, I was quite a fucking mess. Quite a mess. Quite a mess. So what my niece went through really resonated. Like, it brought up a lot of that stuff for me. But it also brought up, like, what a miracle I am. Like, really, what a fucking miracle I am. I never had drug abuse problems. I never had problems with that. I never had problems with substances or alcohol. I know how I've found joy. I found healing. I know how to laugh. I've found a family and community and kids, and I have like amazing blessings all around me. I'm a freaking optimist. Like, I never thought I would ever say that about myself. Like, what out of all of that, what a freaking miracle. What a freaking miracle I am. And I'm glad I could say that in this room, because there's so many people that would, like, if I would just to say, what a freaking miracle I am, they'd be like, okay. Way to think so highly of yourself, girl. But like,
They're just talking about themselves.
yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
we
you.
practice humility in here. There is no need to be modest, queen.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. And you guys give me a space to really see that each and every day. So thank you. Like, really, thank you. It's come into so much more awareness in me. Like, wow, you done good, kid. Like, you done fucking good.
You're done good, kid.
Right?
That's God's voice going. You're done good, kid.
You done with-
keep on doing.
God is that guy from Pig. What was his name? Do you remember the movie Pig? A babe? Babe.
Oh, babe.
Yeah, and he's like, you done good, pig. It's like, that's how God talks to me. You done good, bet. You done good.
I like
Thanks,
to
Dad.
think of I like to think of God like Morgan Freeman or maybe even Clint Eastwood. See, you're too young for that, Becky.
Morgan Freeman, I remember. Clint Eastwood is
Yeah,
a little bit too much for me. I don't like Clint Eastwood that much. You know what I like? Have you seen Never Have I Ever? The Mindy Kaling
Oh
show on
no,
on
I've
Netflix.
noticed the commercials and Netflix
It's
is asking me to
hysterical.
watch it. Yeah, okay, so I might have to watch it.
It's absolutely hysterical. Like, it's a fantastic show, but
Mm.
the narrator for this girl, like, she has like a narrator for her life and her inner monologue and stuff, is John McEnroe. And I just want John McEnroe to narrate absolutely everything. Like, I want him to be like the voice of God. I want him to narrate my life story. It's hysterical. It is like, whoever thought to put him as a narrator for the show, it was like the most brilliant, genius thing. You don't know what you're missing until you hear John McEnroe narrate a life story. It's amazing. That's my pick.
Nice.
Well, Sammy, I am so happy to be here supporting you in this role. You're
Thank you,
awesome.
bro. Oh my God, right back at you. You're my mirror, and also, thank you. I'll take it. You know what?
Yes.
I'm gonna take it, and thank you, and you're welcome.
It looks good on you. It looks good
Oh,
on you. This role
okay.
looks good on you. I like
Thank you.
seeing you. I like seeing you step out into the spotlight. Take
Okay.
your moment.
All right.
Yeah, take your
All right.
moment.
I'm hearing you. I'm listening. Now I have to accept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Such good people.
Becky, you're such a gift. Thank you for being so
Oh.
amazing. Thank you for being a miracle, and thank you for surviving and thriving and making it and being here with us after everything you've been through. And that's a lot, Becky. It's a lot for anybody. And look what made you. Look at the brightness coming out of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
What I feel from where you've also shared, Becky, is to recognize that we are brilliant from what we've come from, and we build beyond from what we've been made from. And so I not only recognize you as a leader in this work, you are a giant standing on the shoulders of other giants, and you are building other ginormous people because of what you've not only survived, like Sammy had said, you've thrived through, and to push those people in those relationships up, knowing that we are building a new generation of people, not only listening, but respecting one another. Like the golden rule is just so palpable in not just our communication, but the communities we're creating. And so thank you by leading by example, knowing that there wasn't many examples led for you and that you chose to feel it, believe in it, and now you're seeing it. So thank you. And Sammy, there's not enough I can say beyond the point that the veil does not even allow your face to show right now. You are not only Father of the Year, you are the voice of God forever in my evening of what I'm calling in, what I'm accepting, what I'm letting go of, and what I get to regenerate myself of. Thank you.
Yes.
I love you, Janine. I love you so much. Thank you, Janine.
Yes.
That's amazing.
I like this was small and intimate, but because it's not going to be this small and intimate for very much longer. I could tell you that. I could tell you that. It's like, here's your
know.
moment. Here's your moment. And get ready.
Yeah. Oh wow. Brian is calling me. He's like, "Daddy, I'm ready," and he has
Okay.
the Simon Says toy with him.
Yes.
Thank you. And he's, you know what? Today he was exceptionally patient and loving and positive and happy. We went to the doctor. We were there for over 3 hours. It was just like, I don't, I have to credit the work that we're doing, guys, to Brian being the way he's being. I gotta credit that, and what I'm experiencing in my life and the way I'm implanting, the meanings of what I'm experiencing, like consciously and intentionally saying, I'm experiencing this the way I choose to experience this. I have a choice in the matter. I have a choice in what meaning I'm making this mean, and so grateful for you guys, for both of you, y'all.
We're grateful for you too.
Thank you.
You really are a blessing.
Thank you so much. Right back at you.
You
All
go
right, I'm
play
gonna
with
go.
your boy. Yeah.
I am gonna go. Yeah.
I gotta go play Don't Break the Ice with my little
That's right.
girl.
We got Mother of the Year too here, let's not forget that. All
And so
right.
as we summarize and don't leave anything on the table, who amongst us can come together the next time we are available?
Where's that hand? Let's see. Reaction, and there we go.
I love you both. Rest well.
Love you.
Have a great day or evening.
Have a wonderful night. Have a great night. Bye.